was a little fear. Growing up as a kid, I, my dad was gone a week, home a week, gone a week, home a week. He was a pilot for Flying Tiger Airlines. And my mom was so afraid to be by herself on the weeks that my dad was gone. Oh my goodness. I know for a fact she was afraid of her own shadow. And we lived in a new housing tract that back in the day in the 60s, street lights, neighborhood street lights were not a thing. So at night, it was dark. So when Dad was gone, we were in the house early, and the house was all locked up. And if anybody knocked on the door, we could forget it. My mom would go into such a panic mode. Luckily, we lived on the far side of the house, not next to the front door. So if anybody came to our house, they wouldn't hear anything because we had an extra, like a added-on bonus room. We all just lived in there. It was a lot of fun. So we'd be having a nice evening, and all of a sudden, we'd hear a knock at the front door. Oh my goodness. My mom would be up, and she would fly to the front bedroom, the bedroom that was closest to the front door. And so again, she would run fast. I don't think I ever seen my mom run fast other than on Friday night when someone knocked at the front door. And we had strict instructions not to move. So, but most of the time I did. I quietly followed her in there, and she would peek out the blinds of the bedroom window to see if she could see who was at the front door of the porch. It was such a feeling of fear and fright over nothing. It was usually the neighbor. And we'd hear the next day, "Hey, you guys must have went to bed early." I knocked on your door. We never mentioned that we were scared senseless. We just left it off as, oh, we must have not heard you knock. But so there was that. Very young age that started with me. Borderline fright. Then we had neighbors across the street that were fun, frightful friends. At night, especially during the summer, they would bring out the Ouija board. Oh, I can remember so many summers in our garage. And this was back in the day when all the kids in the neighborhood played outside, rode bikes. You drank water from the hose, because once you went in the house, okay, you're done playing. You go in the house, you're done playing outside. You'd have to come in. So, and all the parents would be out on somebody's porch. It seemed like it was usually my mom's porch, our porch, but it was just the way our driveway was situated. We had a huge driveway. We had a garage right by the driveway. And we had porch furniture. So those Ouija board nights, I was really convinced Ouija board was real. I know it's a touchy subject to say Is it real or not? I just don't even, as an adult, I don't like to even dabble with Ouija boards because they really are kind of spooky for me. But as a kid, I mean, 4 or 5 of us crouched down in the garage on the floor playing Ouija board, and we'd ask a spooky question, and the little thing would start to move, and it seems like I would usually be the one that would scream. Somebody would scream, and everybody would be scared. And that was fun, to be a little scared, but not really scared. And also, we had the family across the street they had a ton of kids. Family 2 doors down with a lot of kids. They were just our best friends that we grew up with. And the other fun, spooky thing was the family across the street had this doll that at night, blood would come out of the doll's eye. I'm telling you, they knew how to keep me on the edge of fear. The one friend was my age or a year older, and then there was a boy and a girl a couple of years younger who played with my brothers and sisters. And at nights they would come running over. They would say, "The doll is bleeding, the doll is bleeding." And they'd have all these rules to keep me scared, keep all of us scared, really. Her eye would only bleed at night. And she'd always be in the corner of a dark room, one of the darkest back bedrooms. And you had to be quiet, because if you went in there, you didn't know what would happen, because you'd be disturbing her. And I would ask all these questions, like, how can blood come out of her eye? And they would show me this needle mark that someone poked her in the eye with a needle. And I believed it. So it was so real. I said, "See?" And you could see blood stains on her eye. And to this day, I don't know what they did to convince me it was blood stains. If they had a crayon, smeared it, or ketchup and smeared it. But I never really actually saw blood coming out at night. But there was always residue. I'm telling you, those were good, fun, fright times. In fact, I should call. I have 2 fun friends from that neighborhood. My friends from age 3 in the early 60s. And I should call them and relive a fun fright memory. But anyways, okay, so there's that. And just obviously all through growing up, through junior high and high school years, Dad still had the same schedule. Mom still had the same fear factor going on. So that there was always that little level of spookiness. Not enough to put me over the edge, but enough to keep me on the edge of my seat. So, then the other thing, I always call it like my near miss with Charles Manson. I really don't joke around with this one too much, because this is a real story that I really do believe the Keeper of the Stars had a special star watching over us. But we lived at the time in the 60s. We lived in Santa Susana, the far east side of Simi Valley, which was right at the foot of the Santa Susana Pass Road. Back in the day, they had no freeway. So if you wanted to get out of town, get out of Dodge, you had to go over the hill. You get into the San Fernando Valley, where life was good. You were just all that once you got into the San Fernando Valley. So that Santa Susana Pass Road was like our lifeline. I knew that pass road with my eyes closed. That's how often we were driving it. So, just a brief little recap. Charles Manson, his group, kind of made a little home there, Spawn Ranch. And you can do the research on this, but Spawn Ranch, located off of the Santa Susana Pass Road, we knew that place by heart. It was to us, it was a horse riding stable. And as a little kid, I loved horses my whole life. I've loved horses, and I finally got my own horse in high school, and life was good. My dad knew I was a real horse enthusiast, so one day he takes me horseback riding there in the mid-'60s. Now, the Manson murders, I do believe, took place in 1969. So, this might have been maybe a year or so earlier, perhaps. It was right around that time when all that spooky stuff happened. We go horseback riding. I'm super excited. And the girl who was our guide, I can't say for a fact that it was one of his family people, but every time I see the pictures of that whole group of girls that he had there, I'm reminded of our guide. She was, unassuming, young girl, long, straight, blondish brown hair, plain Jane. And I had an incident with my horse where the bridle came a little unhooked and poked the horse in the ear, and the horse kind of went running off like a crazy horse. But because I was so good at horses, I wasn't afraid. I knew how to hold on. I knew how to ride a horse. And his horse, I couldn't control it, but she was really the expert and came riding up really fast, grabbed the reins, fixed the bridle. She was like a Wonder Woman. Okay, so me and my dad had a really fun day. Didn't think anything more of it other than a little fun story we could tell. Oh, my horse went crazy, a bridle broke, and I stayed on the horse, and the guide was able to fix a bridle, and everything was good. That's a fun little story for a kid to tell. So life goes on, and I don't recall that in 1969, as a young child, putting two and two together. I don't remember that. I remember as a teenager, like mid to late 70s, hearing about Charles Manson murders. I remember because I always had this little fear factor, like, I want to be scared a little bit, I don't want to be scared a lot. I'm listening to the story, and they start talking about Spawn Ranch, and they show pictures. Couldn't believe it. Could not believe it. So I'm trying to talk to my dad about it, if he knew that happened. And he said, yes, everybody knew but me. And they just kind of shrugged it off. I said, well, why didn't you tell me? He said something to the effect, well, it was on the news. Oh, happened so long ago. And I wonder if they really didn't say anything because they were spooked too, thinking, like, wow, we came that close to the Manson murders. And spent the day at Spawn Ranch. Anyways, so that was like my real life spooky event. And then after I started realizing that I like mild spooky things, a mild spooky story, or mild spooky movie, not the real hard, bloody, gory stuff. So every once in a while on my channel, I'd read for Halloween, I'd read a spooky story. And lately, on some cable channels, they've been having Manson stuff. So maybe it's the anniversary of his death. I don't know. But it seems like every once in a great while, they'll have like a whole week of Manson documentaries. Bigger than beans. I'm hooked. Even though I've seen all of them. Manson stuff, I'm still hooked. I have to watch it. That got me in the mood. I was searching for Amazon stuff, and I ran across those two calendars, the true crime story calendar and the unsolved mystery story calendar. I've added that to my channel, and that's kind of fun at night. And also from Amazon, I got like a little 3-pack of spooky stories that I'm not sure about. You know, we can give those, they're short spooky stories, give those a try. But for now, I am really enjoying the true crimes. 365 days of true crime stories and the unsolved mystery stories. And I know it. We're all looking for something different to, you know, as ASMR people. We want to relax. And we just want to not really have to think too much. But the spooky stories, ASMR spooky stories, may be on a different level for many, but also for many it's very enjoyable. So we have that to look forward to. I just thought I'd give you my little true story background of fright in my life that has caused me, now at this stage in my life, over age 60 now, to enjoy, I don't know, spooky stories. Let's see what else. Trying to think if there's any other real spooky thing that happened other than Manson. I'm sure you all heard of the Rodney King. That was a Simi Valley thing. Not that it was all that spooky, but it was really kept us on the edge of our seat, because here this huge nationwide court trial became big deal everywhere, and the whole world was watching Simi Valley court case. So again, it wasn't spooky, but it kept us all on the edge of our seat. And there was that. And then we all remember the O.J. Simpson. Now that was crazy spooky. It was everything. can remember to this day sitting down and watching that white Ford Bronco. We just happened to be at my parents' house. Unbelievable. Because you know it's real, you know it's true, but you can't believe it because it's O.J. Simpson. And you're watching the chase. You know, a police chase is always, it always keeps you on the edge of your seat. And it was local because we're here in Southern California, and that was taking place over the Southern California freeways. And we're watching. Here's all these people on the bridge overpass. Helicopters are everywhere. And we recognize every little area where he's driving. And we're trying to listen to why they're even trying to get him. And then you hear, and then he did all this stuff to his wife. It's like, this can't be. Totally spooky, and you really want to know the truth, or do you want to know the truth? But because it's O.J. Simpson, it's like it can't really be. In my mind, that is really the beginning of when I think of a police chase. That was the start for me. Up until the O.J. Simpson white Ford Bronco police chase, I'm telling you, I don't remember police chase. Wasn't interested in a police chase. Bigger than beans. After that police chase, to this day, this is kind of funny. Yeah, my husband laughs when I mention this. Do you know how excited you get? They break in on breaking news for another car chase here in LA area, Southern California area, and we laugh. And I get caught up in it with him. And there's always a suspenseful helicopter guy giving you blow by blow action. I pulled him over. He had 5 machine guns in his front seat. They always give you some spooky story. They pulled him over for a minor traffic violation, and they noticed a bloody knife in the back seat. That's terrible, but it's always something like that. Very rarely is it a boring little car chase. The old lady from Pasadena, you never heard one of those. It's always, of course, they want to get it on TV because they want people in the neighborhoods, they want people driving around to know. Watch out for this guy. If you're nearby, get inside and lock your doors. I love it when they say that. They say, so if you're in the vicinity of such and such, get in the house, lock windows and doors. And once they say that, I'm hooked. That's terrible. Oh my goodness. So, now you know the rest of the story. And why I have a little fun of fright in my life. In case you were confused why.